Bellator 222 10 Things We Learned from Star-Studded, Action-Packed Message Card. Bellator MMA brought one of its signature events of the summer to New York City on Friday night, stacking the deck for an 18-fight blockbuster at Madison Square Garden. With a bantamweight championship rematch between Darrion Caldwell and Kyoji Horiguchi, light heavyweights Lyoto Machida and Chael Sonnen fighting in the co-main event, and welterweight champion Rory MacDonald taking on Neiman Gracie in the semifinals of the welterweight Grand Prix among the featured bouts, this was easily the biggest event of the year for the company, and it certainly did not disappoint. SN looks at the biggest takeaways and talking points from 7 weeks after publicly pondering his future in the cage, MacDonald earned a unanimous decision win over Gracie in the main event. In securing a sweep of the scorecards, MacDonald not only handed Gracie the first loss of his career, but he also advanced to the finals of the welterweight Grand Prix, where he'll face off with two-time former champ Douglas Lima, whom he defeated for the title in January 2018. MacDonald was technical and poised throughout. He outworked Gracie. A date hasn't been set yet for MacDonald Lima 2, but you will want to tune in whenever it goes down, because their first fight was outstanding. MacDonald seems to have found a balance between his faith and fighting, and Lima has only gotten better. Those things make the Machida advance to 2-0 under the Bellator MMA banner via a second-round technical knockout of Sonnen in the co-main event. Sonnen started quickly, racing across the cage and looking to tie up with the karate stylist, but Machida was able to get free and started opening up with his kicks before flooring Sonnen with an outstanding flying knee late in the opening round. Although Sonnen served after the bout, Sonnen took off his gloves and announced his retirement, bringing an end to a 48-fight career that had an undeniable impact on the sport. Whether you love him or hate him, Sonnen ushered in a new era of personalities, becoming a major part of putting together fights, using his abilities on the microphone to secure matchups that his results might not have merited. He was a superstar. Thank you, Chael. Dennis is a lot of things. You a world champion jiu-jitsu player, a first-rate troll, a Conor McGregor acolyte, a guy with very bold fashion sense. After a first round, the trash-talking Dennis dominated from start to finish, meeting Humphrey in the middle and throwing hands before getting it to the floor and getting busy. After spending a lot, the verbose 25-year-old has declared himself the best in the world, not in jiu-jitsu, but in MMA, and did so again after Friday's victory, but the reality is he's still raw early in his transition into the sport. It will be really in either way, you can be sure. If people didn't know about Mix before he made his Bellator MMA debut Friday night, they sure do now. He made quick work. The 25-year-old quickly locked up with Bandrutejas and looked to elevate and slam him to the canvas. While Bandruteja, after going 11-0 as an amateur, Mix has now matched that mark in the professional ranks. The victory saying that Archuleta hasn't lost a fight since March 2015 doesn't quite do justice to the winning they. Friday night, Archuleta extended his winning streak to 18 in spectacular fashion, blistering former Bellator champ Dantas with a right hand in the closing seconds of the second round. After stinging a former 4-division champion under the King of the Cage banner, Archuleta is essentially the top contender at both bantamweight and featherweight and can choose his own adventure going forward. While he was whatever he decides to do, this performance cemented Archuleta as one of the top rising stars in the promotion and someone who should remain in the championship mix in multiple divisions for the foreseeable future. Horiguchi returned to North America and continued his incredible run of success since fighting for the UFC flyweight title. The reason standout welcomed Caldwell to Japan on New Year's Eve and scored a third-round submission finish to secure that promotion's bantamweight belt. Caldwell promised Horiguchi's win creates an interesting situation for the promotion. He is contractual. On one hand, the arrangement puts a Bellator champion in front of a larger international audience and makes a strong case for the organization having the best bantamweight in the world. On the other hand, regardless of what the future holds, Friday night was another outstanding effort by the 28-year-old Horiguchi, who continues to make a case for being one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. It was surprising to see Bellator match the highly touted Pico against undefeated rising star Borix, with Pico coming off a first-round knockout loss, but for the first 7 minutes or so of this bout, everything looked to be going Pico's way. Fighting for the first time since shifting his training to Jackson Wink MMA in Albuquerque, NM, Pico used his wrestling to keep Borix grounded and nullify his dangerous striking. Midway through the second, even though he entered with the better record, this was still a massive moment for Borix, a fighter with tons of potential, who hasn't garnered nearly enough attention. At the same time, while this performance should propel Borix into the championship mix, because it's his 4th straight win in Bellator, not because he beat Pico. The bigger question is what comes next for his opponent. The move to Jackson. The two highest profile female competitors on Friday night's card had very different nights. Laurda pushed her record to 2-0 with a solid effort against late-notice opponent Larkin Dash. The 20-year-old, 2 fights later, Hardy walked into the cage and got steamrolled by Taylor Turner, the wife of Knoxville MMA head coach Eric Turner. Almost immediate. Although there are obvious elements of Laurda's game that need improvement, she also has obvious upside and plenty of time to blossom into a bankable addition to the Bellator MMA flyweight ranks. Hardy, on the preliminary card included 3 interesting matchups that featured promising young fighters. All 3 came away. In the second bout of the evening, Robson Gracie Jr. picked up his 2nd career victory, a first-round armbar finish over Oscar Vera. After that, in the first crossover, all 3 fighters are early into their professional careers and all 3 show varying degrees of upside. These were all solid. Bellator has historically done a good job of bringing promising, inexperienced fighters along slowly and giving them every opportunity to find success and blossom into recognizable names. All 3 of these a few years ago, Haas was they. A little less than 2 years later, Haas returned and scored a first-round stoppage win over Michael Wilcox in the first bout of the night. Now training with Team Tiger Schulman in New York, Haas brutalized Wilcox over the opening 5 minutes, leaving him with a bloody visage and a swollen eye. The damage was enough. Haas' career has been a long, strange trip that has taken him from hyped prospect to 30-year-old on the comeback trail, and while this was just a single victory, it was a very good performance and a fresh start. It will be interesting.
Raindrop, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking